What's up? Welcome. Day 2. Thick, pumped, solid. Just got back from the gym and I'm ready for day 2 of LCO. Of course, we have another whole day of action. Yesterday provided a whole lot of entertainment and I'm ready for the same thing to happen today. We are going to have a few fresh faces on the desk as well, so maybe a different change in voice, change in tone. But before we get too deep into things, let's have a look back at yesterday and see what happened with this highlights package. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed all the action from yesterday. And look, new day, new faces on the desk. We do, of course, have Elfish Guy, Elfish Boy, right? Is that what you told me to call you? Or you happy with Elfish Guy?
I do prefer Elfish Boy. It sort of takes me back to when I used to actually cast League of Legends. You know, I'm getting a little bit old now, so
of course.
Take me back to 6 years ago when I was a boy, but unfortunately no longer. So feeling a little bit old, but it's nice to dive back into some League of Legends, Mac. And it's great to have you here with me, you know, because you make me feel so comfortable on the cast.
I know. I know how comfortable you feel every time we're here. I'm not going to throw you under the bus at all, and I'm sure you're not going to do the same for me. But of course, we do have a more familiar face for everyone at home here. We do have Rusty as well over on my far, what's that, right of screen? Technically my left. So he's over there. How you doing, big fella?
Yeah, good, man. And speaking of old people in the League of Legends scene, when Elfish mentioned that, I thought of myself immediately here. I was like, oh god, this is a person who's been here for 11 bloody years working in the scene. So back again. I will admit, actually, Mac, I'm a little bit nervous coming into this because it's a brand new thing for me. Even though it's the same League of Legends, it feels like brand new completely.
Well, brand new product, and look, I'm glad that your handsome face is here to bring it to everyone at home. But look, we do have the standings to have a quick look at to see where everything ended up after yesterday. Of course, the 8 teams here, 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top, and it's Peace, Pentanet, Order, and the Chiefs who all managed to get the W's, and Direwolves, Gravitas, Mammoth, and Legacy all at the bottom of the ladder. So, anything you guys want to mention from yesterday? I know a couple of you, both of you rather, did manage to join and watch those games.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching. I don't think there was too many surprises. Again, not necessarily the expert to throw my weighted opinion around here. I think the matches that we sort of thought might go either way, Chiefs versus Legacy, Direwolves versus Peace, they could have sort of gone one way or the other. They were pretty close, but the expected results in the Mammoth and the Gravitas games, as far as I can see, nothing too surprising on day one.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that stood out to me, though, was how well and how quickly Order did win. You know, this is not a team that you expect to come in and slaughter their opponents regardless of skill, but they looked clean, right? And to me, that was a surprise.
Clean, crisp, dusted, and hopefully Order wins a few more times throughout the split. No bias here, you know, just thought I'd throw that out there. I'd like to see it. But look, we do have a couple of storylines we're going to go over. So let's bring this one up. So yesterday, Peace and Direwolves did go head-to-head. Peace managed to cause what was, on paper, people saying the upset. I don't know what you guys think about that one, but Direwolves certainly coming in with a very strong lineup here.
Yeah, I would say this was an upset for sure. Again, when you look at the rosters on paper, I think 90% of people would say that Direwolves would be the favourites coming in, but there was a lot to actually take in from that game. And the biggest thing for me was the word discipline. Jules actually mentioned it yesterday during the game. And if you're going to look at one key factor as to how this was the downfall of the Direwolves, they kept getting caught. They kept giving openings to a team like Peace, who, remember, 3 of them have played together before. So it's not massively surprising that they'll come in pretty hot still, and they will pick you apart.
What about your...
Yeah, nothing really to mention from my side, but what I will just say is both Rusty and I predicted that one, so
true.
Easy.
Beautiful. Well, I'm glad you guys got that prediction right. I'm pretty sure I got it right, wrong? I can't remember. I can't predict what's going to happen. All I know is I went and looked at the stats from yesterday. That Skimmy did manage to link us in our little old talent Discord, and everyone that's been on the blue side so far has managed to get the W's over the line. So I would like to try and predict everyone that starts on the blue side. If that trend continues, because that's going to be easy money, easy predictions for Mackie, mate, if that trend continues.
They straight up did everything back. It wasn't just blue side winning. They had the first Dragons, Heralds, Towers, Nashors. It's actually an insane day to be a blue side team. So I can't blame you. I think it might be a winner.
I hope so, because that's exactly what my strat's going to be going forward. Now we do have the From the Fans segment as well. So moving into that, we yesterday let you all know that we let you all know to tag LCO on Twitter and show us exactly how you were watching the games. And it looks like Ali here was actually watching the games and trying to spoon feed both Skimmy and Nat. Nat obviously a little bit more hungry yesterday than what Skimmy was, who seemed to be have eaten before the broadcast.
Yeah, I like that one. I actually just ate before the broadcast as well, so if anyone's going to try and force feed me any soup, I'm not going to be too pleased about that one. So hopefully the fans can come up with something new today.
Right, now looking at the second one coming through here, and Ben Green, of course. So he's sent this one directly to ESL. I think he's an employee as well. Said, if I just slip you, 5 under the table, can you put me on the broadcast? And I bet she's in chat just lapping up the glory right now as well. So that's how he was watching it from home yesterday.
I mean, what better way to watch it than with all of the things that he has just mentioned here, Mac? It looks like a good time to me.
Oh, Jordan, are you a fan of those? What are those bottles? Are they little whiskeys?
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine when it comes to Ben Green that they are going to be whiskey. And yes, I am a fan. So Ben, if you are watching, I'll be over later on this evening after the broadcast is done. Little known fact, Ben and I live about 5 minutes away from each other. So maybe I'm the person that's managed to get him on the broadcast, Mac. Think about that one.
There you go. So Wednesday night is party night. And if you guys want to get involved in the conversation or you want to show us today for later on in the show how you are watching the LCO, please take a photo at LCO on Twitter, hashtag LCO as well. I'm sure I'm going to be looking there. And look, if we move on to next week as well, the topic for next week, if you will, is memes and trash talk. So if you see any good banter on Twitter, or if you want to make good banter and send it in, please feel free at LCO, talk shit, and just at me straight up. Just tell me how small I look. I'll maybe do a couple of pull-ups. I'll do some push-ups. I'll ask Rusty to drive down and, we can do a couple of pull-ups together and it'll be glorious. I don't know. That's just me trying to set me and Rusty up on a date. But look, moving forward, we do have to go and have a look at the schedule and what matches are coming up this evening. It is going to be a scorcher. 6 p.m. first match of the night. You got Gravitas and Legacy going head-to-head. 7 p.m. Order and Mammoth. Chiefs and Peace at 8 p.m. and then Pentanet and Direwolves to round things off at 9 p.m. So, boys, Jordan, which of these games stands out in particular to you?
Yeah, definitely some big ones to have a chit-chat about. I think the last 2 of the day for me are the ones that I'm most interested in, and I think the boys yesterday night sort of indicated why that might be. These are some of the teams that we're expecting to do well come playoffs and come finals, but for me, the most interesting matchup out of these 4 is actually the Pentanet and Direwolves game. That's an opportunity, actually, for Direwolves to go down 0-2 at the start of the split, and for a team that we sort of heralded as being one of the stronger competitions coming into this, that would not be the start that they're looking for. So Pentanet looking for a 2-0, Direwolves a 0-2. Obviously, that would be quite the storyline going into week number 2.
certainly would.
The third game also looked good. Sorry, Mac. I will just quickly say that as well. Just not to jump the gun on this one, but when it comes to predictions later in the day, that is the one point of contention, I think, between all of us. So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll divide us all here on the panel. But look, moving forward, we do have another little storyline to look at, and that is that Udyr was picked not only 100% of the time, but also banned 100% of the time. So I don't know how that works. Can you please explain this one to a league noob like myself?
It's a 100% pick ban rate, so that involves picks and bans. He was banned 3 times, picked once, which is why it's 100%.
Beautiful.
Basically, the point of this graphic is saying that Udyr is kind of a big deal. He does join a list of some other champions like Aurelia and Gragas, I believe, who were banned 3 times throughout the night. They just weren't picked in that other time that they weren't banned. And that, to me, says that Udyr is the only champion here, Mac, that seems to be played by every team in the league.
Well, there you go. He is very, very strong at the moment. I remember Jubes yesterday, I was saying, hey, what can I do to pick up my LoL game? Because I'm pretty terrible. I'm like bronze 2. I know it is like the 3rd highest rank in the game, but I've got a long way to go still. Personally, I feel that. And he said, just play Udyr. Just play Udyr. You know, you're a jungler, just do it. It'll work. And I did it earlier today and I got like 2 losses. So he lied to me. I don't know if it's me or if it's the champion, but it's one or the other. Anyway,
Mac, never change.
Moving forward, we've got Gravitas and Legacy coming up as the first match of the night. And look, do you want to have a quick chat about Gravitas? They didn't really turn too many heads yesterday, unfortunately. Do you think they can have a better chance tonight against Legacy?
Look, I feel like the way that we have to look at Gravitas, and I'll actually include Mammoth in this bucket as well, is that we shouldn't have crazy high expectations of them through the early stages of the split, and to be blunt, maybe even the whole year. The way that I look at this team is they are developing. So when you look at them play, yesterday they got smacked around. Yes, it's going to happen. You can see it here against Order. A couple of plays here and there where they looked maybe positive. I would say their jungler was the shining light. But they had a really rough draft for me. And then the way that they played it out when they had a strength point was still failing. So they've got a long way to go, but there is still some things I would say at the very least.
What about yourself, Jordan? Yeah. Did you manage to catch much of that game yesterday?
I did. I watched the whole game. I watched all the games, Mac, by the way, just so everyone knows I'm a professional. I've been doing my work. Look, the thing for me was it sort of felt like it was the game that went perfectly for Order. Yes, there was a lead in the jungle for a little while for Gravitas, but when we got to those mid-game fights, really didn't feel like there was that much that Gravitas had to sort of engage those fights in a manner that you thought that they were going to be able to actually do anything in that fight. They could get the Hecarim into the back line, but past that, what were they going to be able to do? The Gnar follow-up, maybe a little bit too slow, so I really just thought that Order a little bit too strong in the top lane, a little bit too much of a lead down in the bot lane as well, and things started to sort of snowball away from them, even despite Gravitas having a strong Hecarim, which was what their composition was built around.
Yeah, that's it for me. Like, they built a composition around a Hecarim, and this is, again, I'm going to bring Mammoth back into this, because their comp was just a Malphite and an Orianna. I really think that Gravitas will find more success if they just wombo and make the wombo easier to do, right? You can't mess that up. You actually can't make a mistake with that. You just press R and hope it works, and usually it will. Gravitas made it way too hard for themselves.
Well, let's see how that goes today for Gravitas. But before we get too much further in the team discussion, we do have a little bit of homegrown content coming out of Gravitas here, which we're going to have a quick look at.
Gravitas. Glory. Gravitas. Glory.
I follow a lot of political people, and I tend not to try to mix my work with my political views. Yeah. In terms of esports, I follow teams. That's where I get my best content from. So any of the LCS or LCO teams, I think would be great to follow. So you know what? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say Gravitas. Gravitas is the team you should be following if I had to pick one.
There you go. This has not been a paid endorsement. This everyone know. Like, this hits Reddit. It's like it's a really long con to get Chris Greeley to endorse Gravitas.
Gravitas. Glory.
Well, there you go. So straight from the horse's mouth, and solid bit of content. So what's so funny, Rusty? What's happening over there?
It was just a song. It was made, I think it was made last year by Pabu's mum, or like 2 years ago. Like, I think that's what it was. There was Because it goes through all of the players that are on that team after it says Gravitas Glory. It's coming back to me slowly.
That's solid. All right, I want one of them for every team. And Jordan, I'm going to put you in charge of making that. All right, I know you're a whiz on the video editing and all that. So make it happen.
Okay.
The meme king on the desk here.
I can make it happen, but I'm going to need a rusty rendition for them. Like I can't add the vocals and the
Glory.
editing. I can do half of the job, but I don't want to do it all myself.
All right, cool. Now moving forward, we do have to talk about Legacy as well. So let's have a look at what they've got to offer. We were pretty impressed initially yesterday when they went very aggressive early on. Unfortunately, it didn't play out for the late game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go.
Okay, yeah, I thought this one was an interesting one, right? Because there was a lot of talk around Incursio in that mid lane and what the champion pool was going to look like. And then Legacy goes ahead and pulls out the Azir top lane as well as the Tristana mid. So it was just a crazy, crazy champ select coming out from Legacy. And it just seemed like, while there was some good moments, particularly from the Tristana in the mid lane, Legacy, in my mind, just got completely outdrafted by Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this game, the one positive takeaway I have is that Incursio is the king of mid lane right now, as he did get that solo kill on Kisei. That's the one positive takeaway. Credit to Juves for throwing that nickname out there. So if you can solo kill Incursio, you are now the best mid laner, or the king of mid lane, I should say, to be clear. But looking at the way that this game did play, it had to be a very topside heavy style from Legacy, which I think I like a lot. The way that they've drafted their players coming into the league. It's just that the execution was severely failing, and the composition didn't actually do a lot for them if they ever fell behind. And I mean, the Chiefs are very good at getting leads.
Look, I need to add as well. I was actually talking to a lot of the players today in our banter channel in our Discord, and I managed to find out that I think Chiefs are one of the teams that says they're not going to lose. Legacy didn't actually get back to me either. So, and I'm pretty sure Gravitas as well also didn't get back to me. So both these teams seem to, if they're staying silent, they're either one, practicing very hard and not looking at the banter channel, or two, preparing to lose. So I don't know which way it's going to go there.
Well, it'd be a bit tough for Legacy to say that they're not going to lose because they've already lost, So I'm not sure how they can really follow up with that. They're going to have to say, I guess we can't lose for the rest of the competition if that is the case. But yeah, I mean, just having a look at the picks and bans down there very quickly, like when we saw the Zoe, when we saw the Ezreal start to get ahead, there isn't really that much agency for the Legacy esports roster. I mean, how do you actually engage a fight with that composition that they've got, short of the one pick that we saw around the Dragon pit very, very late on in the game, and at that point it was just a little bit too late. And even then, if you do get an engage, you got the Soraka to deal with, and you're just not going to be able to burst through all the HP that's going to be able to get healed up for the Chiefs. So I sort of felt like once we got 10-15 minutes into that game, once Chiefs were a little bit ahead, it was almost a situation that they couldn't lose based on the way that the compositions played out. Now, Legacy could have done a little bit more early game, didn't quite manage to get that done, but obviously another opportunity today and obviously throughout the rest of the competition as well.
Look, I've got another thing to add as well. Do you think we're going to see Cat permabanned or split? Or are we going to finally see it? Is today the day, or are we going to see Trist mid again?
Surely we never see Katarina, and surely we never see Elise for Sybil as well on the same team. Those are two consistent bans. And the thing is, like, people will come back to us and be like, but Katarina's not a good champion, or Katarina can be countered, but like, why do it? Why give it to them when he has to play something that isn't his main champion? Even though he did well, I still wouldn't give it to it, ever.
All right. Well, what are your thoughts on that, Jordan? Do you want to see some Cat?
No, I don't want to see some
Why
Cat. I
not?
hate Katarina.
Why?
I am a support player, so there might be a reason for that.
Okay.
But look, what I want to say is that I think, at the very least, Katarina did receive some nerfs coming through from the last couple of patches. So if it does get through, it's not going to be quite as scary as what it used to be. So there is that element maybe for teams going up against Legacy. I do tend to err on the side of caution, though, and I think if someone's a one-trick, there is no reason to give it to them. You go back a long time ago, you look at Rippy, for example, playing Udyr back in the day. No one wanted to let him on Udyr, so you just got to get that kind of champion ban through against a team like Legacy. It's only one ban out of 5. May as well just get rid of it.
All right, now moving forward, we do have a head-to-head, which we are going to have a look at here as well. So I believe, I'm not sure who's that going to be. Who's that going to be?
What?
Any takers? Any guesses?
What head-to-head?
Oh, it's okay. Oh, we don't. It was just my head butting into my own head. I was just making things up. It's all right. Now we've got Nat on the sideline again. So she's got another few specimens to speak to down on the sidelines there. Nat, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. You know, it's nice to finish day one, get the nerves over and done with, I guess, and now into day two.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, who do you have to talk to today?
Well, I have Azus and Winter with me today. Hello, guys. I'm going to start asking you some questions first. Azus, I have to say, you know, you guys were looking pretty strong-ish in the early game against Order, but about mid-game, you just seemed to lose it. What were your takeaways, and how is tonight going to be different for you?
Last game was interesting. Our early game was really good, but mid-game, we kind of became like a chaotic team, and we messed up a lot, and we kind of fell off. I think if we fix those mistakes, we should be set for this game. We have like a lot of first game nerves, and I think everyone was feeling pretty anxious, but I think we're better this game.
Yeah, so you're going to focus a lot more on that communication and just working together, try not to get picked off as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then I also want to ask you about your transition. How was it swapping from top to jungle, you know?
Top to jungle is definitely different. They're two completely different roles. Top lane, in a competitive environment at least, you want to be more on the quiet side because you want to let your team talk a lot. Whereas in jungle, you want to be that vocal factor in your team. So it's taking some time to get used to. Definitely do need a few more weeks to fix my communication. But I think over time, I can become the vocal factor that my team needs. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, we will be looking out for any great shot calling coming from you. Now, Winter, what about you guys? You guys also unfortunately lost your game yesterday. What would you put that down to, and how is tonight going to be different for you guys?
Well, last game it was honestly just my fault for getting ganked in level 3. But this time, we're going to pick a proper champion and destroy Gravitas.
Yeah, easy. Just don't get ganked, right? Like, that's simple game plan. I am joking. But Winter, we also want to ask you, pretty much everyone I've spoken to actually was very intrigued by the Azir top pick. You know, can you run us through the thought process to why you picked that?
Azir top can destroy Nara in 1v1 phase, but then if I get ganked, it's just completely nothing. Next time it happens, I'll show you again.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. I hope you have a great game tonight. And for now, we'll head back to Mac.
Welcome back. Nat, how'd that one go? You know, the boys,
good.
they sounded pretty keen.
I mean, you heard it right there, right? Just don't get ganked. That's what they've got to do.
That's the secret. So as a jungler, I'm going to take note of that. Just don't get ganked. It should be pretty easy to win my lanes. Now, moving forward, thank you very much for that, Nat. We'll see you after the game. Now, moving into the game, you know, it's down to the brass tacks, boys. What do you think we're going to see in terms of the champs here?
Oh, geez, who knows when it comes to Legacy at this point? It's going to be really hard to say.
Yeah, look, Incursio, if we're going to start with Legacy, Incursio does like to play a little bit of, I would say, the more unconventional in terms of competitive champions. He's more of an assassin player. You know, Zed was even banned against him yesterday after the Katarina. Picks the Tristana, which we are seeing a lot more of generally around the world as a mid lane option, but I wouldn't say it's ever the first pick most of the time. So he's probably going to be a later pick in the draft order, and Winterer just said in the interview, right, he might play something a little bit more standard to stomp Gravitas. So I think we'll just have a pretty basic team comp here, bar the weirdness of Incursio.
All right, well, Incursio's weirdness is something that I am a big fan of so far. So it's like, you know, when you get those, what is it, like the loot boxes you order online, you don't know what you're going to get, but then you get it and you're either like extremely disappointed or extremely surprised and happy. So, you know, there's no middle. It's just one extreme or the other with this man. And I'm hoping we get probably the happiest side of things today. And look, I don't care about what you guys think. I want to see some cat. Like, I want to see some cat, although I feel like it'd be a terrible decision if we don't see Gravitas banning that one.
Yeah, that one pretty much has to be banned away. Again, the Elise, I think, has to be banned away. their bot side of Legacy, I think the way that they're playing at the moment, I don't know how much attention you need to actually give down to that side of the map as well. But I will say, just because it's close to my heart, ML is a Bard main, so I will always be looking towards him to see if he's going to pick that champion up. And I know, Jordan, you're a support main yourself, so at the very least, it's an exciting champion to watch.
It is. The thing about Bard is, when he was released, I had just about stopped playing League of Legends. Like, I went through this period where I stopped playing League of Legends for a while, so I never picked him up. So he's not actually one of my favorites, unfortunately, Rusty. Much prefer to see the Thresh. He was the king of the bot lane when I was playing. So, look, if at least it makes you happy, let's get some Bard out in the picture. And I know there's a lot of fans in the chat right now of Incursio. I'm having a look, and they're all spamming the Katarina. So maybe just for the sake of the fans, can we get some Katarina?
Oh, please. Well, I guess we'll see once we get towards Champ Select. But before we get that far, we have to have a look at our predictions for the first match. So let's have a look at where we are at on the analysts here, all three of us analysts. I'm killing it so far, 2 for 2. It's like, I'm just keeping it even, you know? That's my whole thing, and I hope Legacy, we're going to get a W, and then I'll get the next one wrong. You know, it's just going to keep trending like that for me.
I'm just trying to hold up some level of credibility.
That's fair. I was going to say, I'm surprised Mac hasn't just started copying us, because we're all putting it in the same chat a little bit earlier than he is. So,
Look,
well done, Mac.
The strat is you don't want to be a copycat. The strat now, though, is, you know, just always pick blue side. I guess we'll see if Legacy starts on blue side or not, and if it was a great decision to pick them. But that could be something that could completely change this and cause the upset. Who knows? But look, going forward, so I really hope I'm 3 for 2 after this. I don't want to be left too far behind. I feel like, even though it's probably my job to do, you know, the Kev effect, we'll call it. Jordan and I understand that. We have a friend called Kev. You might know him better as Karath from Counter-Strike. He's always at the end, at the bottom of the leaderboard, and then he does the double down, so he always picks the underdogs to try to get back, and it just never happens, and he always just ends up...
Is that weird position where when you start to get like 2 or 3 predictions behind, you kind of have to start going against the grain and just praying that the upsets are going to happen so that you can catch up, because if you just keep predicting for the favorite, well, you're still going to lose because everyone else is predicting for the favorite as well. So that's probably a hole that you're going to dig yourself into pretty quickly, I think, Mac.
I love digging holes, and look, I love having a stab in the dark. Always a big fan of the underdogs. And that is going to bring us towards the game. So what, you know, if you had to give it like a percentage sort of chance there for the predictions, what percentage would you give of an upset for Gravitas today?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty confident in my prediction. I don't know about you, Rusty, but I'd have to say I'm probably leaning 70% towards Legacy, I think. Didn't really see enough from Gravitas to impress me, where for Legacy, they had a little bit going on yesterday against Chiefs. There was some moments for them, let's say that.
Yeah, I started at the same percentage as you in my head, Jordan. Then I was like, oh, is it actually 70? Is it closer to 80? You know, I don't know how to rate Gravitas yet. I genuinely think that Legacy will win this one, barring something exceptional, just from what we saw.
I thought you were going to go the other direction. I thought you were going to try and be the non-toxic caster that everyone loves, and you're going to throw me under the bus, let me be the hate train. But no, you've gone down off the deep end, and you've really just thrown them under the bus.
We're warming into the league. I'll start nice, and you'll see sooner or later it'll start crashing down.
I hope you boys are warmed up, because it's time for your first cast together. Let's see how this one goes. It is time for the Champ Select. Legacy and Gravitas coming at you now.
All right. So, straight away into Champ Select, Legacy and Gravitas. Love to see it here, Rusty. And straight off the bat, you see the Irelia ban. So, we talked about that a little bit in the pre-show. Udia's out of the picture as well. 2 of the top bans already gone straight away.
Yeah, Legacy choosing to be on the blue side here as well, so Gravitas will be on the red. Looking at those bans, though, Jordan, we will most likely be seeing either the Elise or the Katarina available straight off the bat. So the viewers may have been heard, they may have been answered pretty much immediately here. Looking forward to see exactly where they choose to go with this third one, Gravitas themselves.
What do you think that is from Gravitas? Maybe a bit of no respect, the fact that they feel like they can take the game to Legacy and they're not afraid of those comfort picks?
I wonder if it is that, or if it's a plan and a strategy, right? Because Kyosei, we don't know the depths of his champion pool to any great degree just yet. Katarina might be a comfort territory for him as a matchup, you know? What we do know about these players is they play against each other a lot, but proof's in the pudding there. It is not going to be the Katarina that is left up, it is the Elise.
And straight away, that's going to be selected by Legacy. I think you have to expect that, though, as Gravitas. If you're coming into this game and you're leaving either Katarina or Elise open, you have an understanding that there's a very high likelihood that someone on that Legacy roster is going to be leaning towards one of those champions. So surely Gravitas have come into this with a bit of an idea of what they want to do to counteract that, what kind of jungle they want to pick up here, maybe to try and deal with Elise, and how they're going to play those lanes out as well.
You know, there was a tweet yesterday from Sybil after their defeat that said, stop making me play level 4 clearing junglers, let me play Elise, let me gank. It was given to him straight away, and I respect Gravitas for even allowing that to happen, because to be honest, Sybil has started to become more and more of a one-trick towards Elise. You know, he does diversify here and there, but this is home sweet home for him, and I would never have given that.
Yeah, Sybil's been around for a long time as well. Definitely one of the more veteran players in the league at this point in time, you know, after the mass exodus of a lot of the older generation. So maybe a little bit of a mistake giving him one of his comfort champions. We'll have to see. Gravitas have gone towards an AP jungler here as well in Karthus, so it seems like meets like. We have the Thresh for the bot lane as well. First picking the support, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't mind the Thresh early at the moment, from what I can tell of Isaiah, and a brief conversation with him is he does love hook champions, so that seems to be his comfort zone. And you know, coming into this day 2 of week 1, you want pet players to still be comfortable with their champions in the uncomfortable territory of the league against other teams. So you see the Thresh come through. The Karthus with it as well, matching AP junglers in a very different flavor hit. It is very aggressive from the side of Legacy with the Elise and the Nautilus now. Side of Gravitas looking more towards their farming jungler. And again, I'm assuming that's a jungle Karthus. There are some players in this league that do like to flex that Karthus between lanes.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of that Thresh Nautilus matchup yesterday for Isaiah against Beats. Didn't go so crash hot for Gravitas, but Camille coming out as well. Of course, a very strong champion. We didn't get to see, I don't think, yesterday any Camille. Was banned a couple of times, so be a nice entrance into the LCO for Camille, who has really been a bit of a staple among competitive League of Legends of late.
Yeah, it was 2 bans, 0 picks yesterday was the Camille. So that was a clear indicator to me that there are certain players that do enjoy their Camille. Safa is actually one of those. So again, looking at the ban list this time on Legacy, choosing to get rid of something like a Lissandra when, you know, the Camille is available does raise some question marks. As I would say, so far, Gravitas have picked pretty much every champion they're happy with. They just need to turn that into a composition a little bit more, right? You know, maybe consider a Galio in the mid lane to make it more of a comp. Could be what they're after.
Yeah, we see one top ban for Gravitas here with the Gragas being taken away after their Camille lock. I'm interested to see where the second one is going to go. Is it going to be targeted again at the top lane, or is it going to be maybe down towards the bot lane for the AD carry? 6 seconds for Gravitas to lock that one in. But I suppose if you're going to pick Camille, you're generally pretty happy in most matchups, aren't you?
Yeah, generally. I think there's only one matchup that truly challenges that a lot of the time, and that would be the Jax. It tends to force the Camille player to go for like the Ignite phase rush type of build, you know, try and match the dueling capabilities. But otherwise, Camille just a pretty happy camper up there. The Renekton actually going to be taken off the board here, though. It's just a stable, safe top laner. You know, if you want to play towards Incursio, towards mid, leave Winterer on that island, then I think something like the Renekton could have been considered, but it's not going to be seen today.
Yeah, Jax is still open for Legacy to pick up, so we'll have to see whether or not Winterer is going to be so inclined to head towards that particular champion. Waiting on the selection from Piglet here, but the composition still looking like it needs to be rounded out with a little bit more AD on the side of Gravitas. Obviously, we need to pick that one. Siva, I don't mind at the moment. I feel like, you know, she did have a little bit of a lull, but seems to have come back as a bit of a flavor of the month lately with that new build, Dark Harvest, and the Duskblade. Yeah. It's starting to be a bit more interesting in the bot lane for Siva.
Yeah, we've seen a bit more Siva rising up here and there. The thing that I would say with the Siva pick is there's just a wealth of AD carry still available. So this is a very conscious choice here from them to choose to go for the Siva. And it's not some type of Hecarim comp that we saw yesterday with the Karma mids to speed someone up. It's just Siva. So really, you know, could have been a Kai'Sa, could have been a bunch of other champions. They choose what they want to pick here. And still, I would say their comp fairly pick-centric more than anything else. Doesn't have that tank engage, doesn't have anything really telegraphed and easy for Gravitas to execute just yet. Most of their efforts is going to be side lane focused.
Yeah, not so much the case for Legacy, although they do have that side lane global pressure from the Shen with the ultimate there involved as well. I'm not sure how he's going to go late game or super late game if we do get into a situation where Camille is really able to scale. So maybe Legacy are going to be looking a little bit more towards those team fights. But Have to see what this final selection will be before we do lock anything in. Ari, again, that sort of tends to lean towards the pick-based kind of composition for Gravitas.
I mean, yeah, it's a deep dive in the pick-based composition. I mean, we're 11.4, so the Everfrost did get a buff. That's something that an Ari could consider. It has been a staple before with the the old Glacial Augment builds with the old items, your GLP 800s, I believe it was. The names are all starting to meld together for me, to be honest, Elfish Guy. But pick composition, I think you're right on the money there. They've got a Split Pusher and Camille. The rest of the comp doesn't necessarily want to just be posting up grouped as forward, dealing with their opponents head on. They'd want to be playing with vision, playing with wave manipulation, and letting Safa get ahead so that he can dictate the flow of the game.
How does the Karthus then fit into that composition for Gravitas? Because I've always looked at Karthus as being a very strong team fighting kind of jungler. Obviously, you do have the pick potential with the wall. You can really get a lot of slow with that. You can catch people off guard, pick them off in that way, but it doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the high mobility kind of pick play from Gravitas.
Yeah, it doesn't. A couple of things that the Karthus can do is, like, one, you can get lanterned in with a Thresh Hook suddenly in the middle of a team fight. Bam, I'm a Karthus engaging. That does help a lot with objective style play. The other thing that it does do is it provides an ultimate, so you're always threatening to gank top lane even when you're not there, right? If you get fed, Camille split pushes to top lane, suddenly you're still a threat. You group up with the team, look for the team fights, but you're still threatening top lane. That is a Camille, to be clear.
Yeah, interesting jungle matchup as well, though, for Sybil here, because he's going to be able to try and take advantage of maybe some of the earlier weakness of Karthus. Do we expect to see any early invades or aggression from the jungler on Legacy?
Yeah, for sure. It may not be invades, it may just be ganks, but you're expecting a lot of aggression here from Legacy's side. You know, you've got sick level 6 spikes from both of your solo laners, and you have kill threat with a Nautilus in bot. So I do think a lot of the way that this game should be played is through mid to side lanes, primarily bottom lane, and then you're looking at dragons as probably, I would say, the key avenue to win the game is through the Drake control and getting those ganks off. So I think you're absolutely on the money there. We'll be looking at a very aggressive Sybil working with his team. It does need the laners to still be decent and not fall too far behind, like we saw from them yesterday when Winterer got level 3 game.
Well, speaking of early game aggression, maybe there's a little bit coming out here from Legacy to start things off. All 5 players down in the bot lane. I am interested to see where they go from here, or if this is just going to be, oh, maybe we can catch someone in the bot bush.
Yeah, 5 people go towards the bottom lane. Not going to see anything. It's just a look.
Yeah.
You know, if someone were to start in lane, which is a thing that a Sivir and a Thresh may want to do, you know, level 1 laning is crucial for bottom lanes. You know, a lot of the time, you'll see metas start to evolve from, oh, I'm leashing for my jungler in week 1. Week 2 is, don't even look at me, you jungle filth. I have to start in lane or I lose the game. It can devolve very quickly into something like that. So not too surprised to see the attempt from Legacy. And if it doesn't work, you've got bush control down in bot lane. You're starting on the opposite side of the map anyway. And if you're lucky, you'll just get some wards to defend that red.
Yeah, the bot lane has been quite the volatile early laning situation across the course of League of Legends. We had the time where people used to take Krugs when they were on blue side. We've had obviously these instances where the junglers tend to get the leashes, and now it seems to be leaning towards that early level 1 prio that, at least in the case of Styled and ML, they're looking to push that, force that issue, and you can already start to see them getting a little bit of a creep advantage down in the bot lane.
Yeah, it's just a small, you know, subtle push that will come out from this. They got a couple of extra auto attacks off. Kai'Sa makes sure she gets those first 3 ranged minions with no contest. And from this position, with 1 extra melee minion there, they'll 100% get level 2 first if they continue to play the wave aggressively. Usually, what you would expect to see from teams in this position is they'll try and get 2, they'll either harass their opponents and threaten, or they'll push for 3 and reset the wave. And generally, if your jungler is starting top side pathing to bottom, that's the way that you'd be playing those waves out to ensure that it's risky to be Gravitas at level 3.
All right, Rusty, I've got a little bit of a present for you here. We've got the Gravitas coach, Valexas, ready for an interview. So great to have you on the broadcast. How'd things go after yesterday for you guys? Obviously not the start that you were looking for.
Yeah, that's correct. Not the greatest of starts, but still had some promising signs in how we played. Our composition was, I think, really good for us. We just had to hold on till about 20-minute mark, and I believe we should have just won the game.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it feels like you've gone for something a little bit different this time. You've got a bit more of a pick-based competition. So how's that sort of playing out, or how do you imagine that's going to play out?
100%. I think that this comp today is completely comfort for every single one of our players. Like Piglet is loving the Sivir right now in solo queue. Azus is notorious for his Karthus. If we get to late, we should just win simply based off Azus.
I have to ask here as well, Velixis, the choice of the Ahri. I know you just said everything's comfort picks, but when you're communicating with the players in draft, is this planned, the Ahri, or was Kyosei just saying, give me the Ahri, I'm good to go?
Kyosei did come out with confidence and said, yeah, I think this is an Ahri game. And we said, you know what, we trust you. So let's see it. And a lot about this team is about development and really trying out new things and seeing how far we can stretch ourselves. And at the end of the day, we just learn from every mistake that we make. And if it works, then we know it works.
All right, then one more thing before we let a lot about the bans that you guys were throwing through on the broadcast today. We've been keeping an eye on Incursio, obviously Katarina one trick or so it seems, and they're also Sybil with the Elise. So you've decided to leave the Elise through. Was there a discussion maybe about a Katarina ban involved there, or were you quite happy to just let these guys get their comfort champs? Obviously not in the instance of Katarina, but for Elise more so.
Yeah, well, with the Elise, we know that pretty much if she doesn't get ahead, she will be completely useless to our Karthus that just eats everything in the entire map. As well as Incursio's Katarina, we fear a bit more than his Yone. So let's see if he can prove to us that we need to ban it next time.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much for the interview, and best of luck throughout this game and the rest of the competition as well.
Too easy, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers. All right, Rusty. Nothing too crazy going on just yet, but some early game pressure from Sybil perhaps about to eventuate. Azus is just going to have to give some ground. Winterer walking up there as well to help his jungler out, but it doesn't seem like anything too crazy is going to happen early on in the piece just yet.
No, so there was a lot of just early hard farming. Karthus has just been eating those camps as was spoken. Sybil now, however, note that he did go for the Predator build and has got that clear towards having boots. He had the amp tome with it now, and he's going to start to look to be much more aggressive and just be around everywhere on the map. You know, he had top lane priority, so suddenly he's in the red side jungle. Azus didn't have a smite, so he couldn't contest the camps, and that's just an example of the things that could happen. But unfortunately for Sybil, the coach of Gravitas was absolutely spot on saying that the Karthus will just be eating those camps, and you can see the difference right now in that CS already starting to stretch as a point of threat for Legacy.
Yeah, it's incredible how that sort of picks up pretty quickly for the Karthus, isn't it? Not too long into the game, he's already hitting some pretty good numbers, but having a look across the mid and bot side of the map, it seems to be leaning a little bit more towards Legacy. So there are some advantages there. They've got a lead in terms of the CS on both of those aspects, and it also seems like maybe we might get some early dragon pressure just looking at the pings from Legacy here. In the mid lane, Kaios has the ultimate available, charging forward, looking for some charms, doesn't quite manage to connect everything onto Incursio. And a great roam from the bot lane. ML saving his mid laner. Sybil was there as well, but I think more of a moral victory for him rather than much of an impact on that fight.
I would say there was a lot of mechanical outplay attempts within that 1v1. You know, Kyosei picking Ahri as the champion, has got 3 dashes, has the flash on top of it as well, and you better believe it was all used. Piglet will just be able to take the lantern out to safety, so nothing doing it down there. But there's a Shen ult to consider. You know, there is still the shield that was there for Incursio. He didn't use the W before he went back to where his starting place was. And I like the aggression from Kyosei, but he just wasn't really in a position to get the kill and get out.
Oh, I don't think you're going to be getting out of that one. Isaiah does have the flash available, just gets out of there okay. Incursio has arrived, but won't be able to get enough damage through here. Sybil cops the heal, luckily. Probably would have been fine. I think that boomerang blade was missing. Legacy turned their attention briefly toward the dragon, but it's a whole lot of nothing in the end.
Yeah, he did also use Smite there, Sybil, to get some health back off the Drake. So now, you know, not having the Smite available, that was done in the face of Gravitas to survive there, as well as that heal being gone. Legacy do choose to disengage. The Karthus with blue buff will most likely be able to solo that one out, and of course still has the Smite for himself. So in the end, there's another hook's on.
Yeah, Mel continuing to put pressure on the bot lane. Piglet will be okay to just walk out of there, spell shield in tow, but now the challenge forward styled just doesn't quite have enough damage. Isaiah must have survived on a sliver of HP, but in the end, an okay passage to play for Gravitas picking up the Dragon.
Yeah, Hair's breath of health remaining there for Gravitas members, and Legacy, of course, they've got some initiative right now, forcing the members of Gravitas back. You know, knowing that the Dragon was done, you'll be very aware that Aziz's health is very low, so they're going to hard pressure bot lane for some plates. So effectively, that is what the trade is going to be. It's going to be some turret plates. Unfortunately, maybe only one, however, in bottom lane for the Drake. That's still a net win here for the side of Gravitas, even though they're 600 gold down.
Yeah, and I don't think Piglet and Ozaya are going to be too disappointed by that overall either. They've seemed to have resigned to the fact that they don't quite have the strength early on in that bot lane. You can see Cull. So Piglet playing for the later game, seems like, and that doesn't seem like a bad option for Gravitas. You've got a few strong late game carries, Karthus, Siva, Camille, and even Ari, when she has her moments, if she can hit the charms, is a bit of a threat as well. So I'm not minding what I'm seeing so far from Gravitas, as long as they don't get too far behind on the gold lead, which they're kind of keeping in check at the moment, despite being a kill down. I think they're going to be okay for now.
Yeah, to be honest, they'll hold that. And Curzio wants to have a crack, but it's not going to be able to find it. Yeah, I would say, so far, so good. You know, we're having a lot of aggression. There is a show of force. There's confidence being seen by both of these teams. There's a lot to actually respect so far overall with what we've been shown. You know, we look at the CS differences, they start to stretch and grow in these individual lanes, but at the end of the day, the killer instinct is there, and that's a real positive.
Oh, Kaios might be under a bit of pressure here, but Incurzio, despite grabbing the shield, the Karthus ultimate, again, just not quite enough damage. So lucky for Incurzio. And look, again, Gravitas just avoid a bit of danger, and that's fine.
Actually 4 HP there, that's how close that one was. Now, another hook in bot lane. Again, this aggression continues. Karthus is nearby, and that's why. This is realistically not going to be a fight. He was clearing vision, so they knew he was there.
I want to talk about that jungle matchup as well. We've just seen Azeus using the ultimate. Sybil only just came online at level 6. Now, maybe not the biggest of deals for Elite, but for Karthus, at one point he was up 2 levels, right? So you're already starting to see that lead really, really branching out. And we've talked a bit about the CS gap, but the experience gap and the levels gap is a huge deal when you're playing against someone like a Karthus.
100%. You know, Karthus is one of those champions that is level reliant, he's also item reliant, and definitely scales like an absolute monster. You know, there's definitely times in games where you may be Piglet trying to farm a wave and a Karthus looks at you and makes eye contact and you say go for it, you know, because he's just too good with that money and can win team fights completely by himself. So those levels are going to be huge. The CS difference, consider that their jungle camp's gold as well, is decently significant when comparing the difference between the two.
Pretty sharp stuff from Kaio so far. Every time we've seen Incurzio try to go forward, there's been a charm to meet him. So I don't mind what I'm seeing in the mid lane here either. And I actually think this game right now is sort of playing out perfectly to plan for Gravitas. I'm kind of waiting to see what Legacy is going to be able to do or where they're going to be able to force the issue to just start that snowball. Maybe it's in the bot lane. The depth charge, not really going to be too much of a problem for Siva with the spell shield and the lantern available from Azaya. So that's an ult gone by the wayside for Legacy.
Yeah, there's a control ward that was in the tri-bush that didn't show the ward just south of that, which keeps Gravitas safe, gives them the notice, you know, throw the lantern out. Siva's going to be very safe with that spell shield there as well. Super hard to close the distance and take them down if they have notice that you are coming. So once again, you know, Legacy, they're trying to pressure in the right places. They want to get an advantage down in that bottom lane. Sybil moving where he's safe, but they're not getting a single thing. And like what you said before, Elfish Guy, they are very comfortable, Gravitas, with this happening.
Yeah, most definitely. And you can see Dark Seal as well here on Azeus. So even looking for a little bit more of that scaling if things start to go well. It seems like Dark Seal has cropped up a lot more lately than what it used to, at least from what I remember. Although maybe we're going back to dinosaur years. But is it off the back of the movement speed being added? Maybe we'll hold that thought because there's an engage in mid. Incurzio, a very nice ultimate, but Sybil again just can't quite close the gap. A teleport through from Safa, ultimate down. Sybil's not going anywhere. Death sentence won't connect, and that's the saving grace for Legacy. This time, everyone walks away untouched.
there is so much action happening, but none of it with a full intent of a 5v5 fight. Incurzio in trouble here.
He's in a bad spot. He's going to be going right back into the middle of Gravitas. Luckily, he had the gap closed that he could use to actually increase that gap in this instance. Pops a boomerang blade to the face, but not going to finish him off there.
Looking at the timings here, though, there is a dragon available. So this is still a win for Gravitas overall. You should be able to see them net the objective once again. Blue buff timing for Karthus, perfect to make sure they get this one as fast as possible. And Legacy stuck in base. To be fair, I still credit the killer instinct that we're seeing from both of these teams. It just feels like at the moment Legacy are forcing it so hard that it's backfiring constantly.
Is it not a situation, though, where they have to do that? I mean, what's the end game right now for Legacy? If we get to 20-25 minutes, never mind that. A charm, Kaios finally finds his mark. He's been hitting a few of them so far, and none of them have really paid off. But this time, a kill for the mid laner.
Yeah, look, a lot of them haven't been paying off because there's been a Shen ult. This time around, there is no Shen ultimate. Well played from Kiyose there, using the summoner spells to get that one done. Sybil being behind at least, not a lot of health to his name. So again, pretty much playing out to the script that Gravitas have wrote for themselves here as draft plays. And still so far so good. But you have to look towards what you said before and what Legacy are going to try and achieve.
Well, unfortunately for Piglet, even if you do have a spell shield, the Nautilus Hook has 2 instances of CC, plus the auto that he can drop with his passive as well. So there's no getting out of that one alive.
A million missiles from a Kaisa Cube will help get rid of that shield with no problems at all there as well. But they took the words from my mouth here. That's the place that you want to be focusing and actually be more successful in, right? We've seen no movements from Incurzio. We haven't really seen Winterer get down there because he's had to ult mid because of Incurzio. And just the sheer aggression that we've been seeing from mid lane of Legacy has kind of stunted any bot lane advances to be successful. As once again, you know, speak of it and it shall happen. He does not like Kiyose at all.
Oh, not a bad trade from Incurzio, but this one isn't quite looking so favorable. Don't put that one in the highlight reel.
Oh.
That hasn't gone well at all.
Oh, that was not good. That was not good at all. He goes for the plays. Top lane's not in a position to help. The top laner of Gravitas is missing. There's no shed ults of it. His bot lane's off the map. They're not going to be there to help. And he just says, you know what, let's have a crack. Let's just flash ult straight on their head, see how it goes. And would you imagine it backfired?
I think that's, you know, somewhat reminiscent of what we saw yesterday. Juves was talking about one of the worst feelings in League of Legends being using the Malphite ult and either missing it or using it to escape. And in that instance, you know, you've flashed, you've E'd forward with Yone, and you've even thrown your ult in there, and all that it's managed to achieve is putting you out of position. So very, very unfortunate for Incurzio. Perhaps needs to just take a little bit of a backseat here because Kaio seems to be dealing with all that aggression quite nicely.
Yeah, pretty passive here in a lot of the other lanes, but that mid lane aggression, Kiyose handles it brilliantly. Again, pretty squishy build from him, you know, going straight towards that Ludens, not seeing the Everfrost that was perhaps hinted towards. So just going straight towards as much AP as he can possibly get now. And a bit of extra move speed that comes from that as well.
Oh, Zaya going for the death sentence, not going to connect too much here. And I wonder if that build on Ahri changes a little bit based on where Gravitas is right now as a team. You know, when you are ahead, when you're feeling strong on Ahri, do you just go into the Ludens and say, I'm going to have that damage to blow people up? Whereas if you're maybe, you know, maybe let's say he's down 0-1 or 0-2, does he then look towards the Everfrost for a little bit more of that utility in the team fights?
I mean, the way that I see it is he's against a melee champion, a lot of them in fact in this game, and Everfrost scales by giving extra ability power for each item you finish, so he's choosing more to have the magic penetration than he is the ability power, and the active, which is, again, against these melee champions, is very useful. Just as a choice that he has seemed to have made, perhaps, because again, the patch fairly new, not something that he's practiced or considered. Could just be that simple.
Yeah, it could be that as well. It's not the kind of item that everyone has been using really a whole lot until this patch. It's starting to come into favor now, but even still, perhaps we'll have to wait until next week to see that getting picked up. Not a whole lot going on right now, waiting for the dragon to pop, I dare say, for the next bit of excitement. 50 seconds for that one, and Gravitas will be quite keenly aware of that. This will be sole point if they can pick it up. So 2 dragons away, but already doing a pretty good job of controlling the jungle, it feels like, for Gravitas. And it seems that is almost a little bit of a win condition for them now, where they've just forced Legacy to play Gravitas' own game.
Yeah, and the item spikes are also going to make that even harder for Legacy to deal with. You know, if the game is playing objectives, they've already got 2 Drakes. If the game is split push, Camille's got that first item and the Tiamat working towards being unstoppable in a 1v1. The way that you have to play this out now if you're Legacy is probably even to drop some priority in that top lane, try and focus on having control around objectives. But if it doesn't work, it cascades even further against you. And even if it does work, the Camille's getting free farm and breaking structures, and that's still a win condition for the side of Gravitas. So overall, things still going exactly as they want it to be. And the Shen even starting to fall further and further behind from all these ultimates that he's been throwing through the early game, just saving Curzio's life as he's fighting in mid.
Well, Legacy not too interested, or rather Gravitas not too interested in challenging for that dragon. They'll just decide to take some farm in the topside jungle. This will be a blue going over to Kaio, so they're safe. So something gained at least for Gravitas here.
You know, one thing that does exist right now is the Zhonya's Hourglass completion here for Sybil. The reason that I bring this up is I would say it's a team fighting item. It's very good, obviously, against the Karthus ult, but it also means that you could be more of an engaged threat or tool for the side of Legacy and be able to survive through an extra couple of seconds of the skirmish when you're engaging. It does effectively mean you can engage even with just a pick champion.
Does slow down the mythic item though for Elise, so missing out on the big one for, I would say, a while. And Curzio going to try and get aggressive here again. The ultimate does connect. Sybil's there. Requiem to try and save Safa, but that damage relatively irrelevant in the grand scheme of things from Zeus. And so Legacy will find their mark, finding themselves a pick and potentially using that to push the tower as well.
And it's on the right person as well, you know, shuts down Safa, stops the Camille from getting any kind of prevalence in a side lane. Now the risk obviously is here. Will they just take the Baron on the other side of the map?
I mean, does Legacy even have vision of the Baron at this point? They seem to be pinging a little bit. They've got an idea, but they might be too little too late. Amelg is going to get in there shortly. Kaiser W provides a little vision. They're just in time. Depth charge is going to go through a bunch. Baron very low. It's going to go the way of the Karthus, so Gravitas will take it. Amelg flashing out, but won't go too far at all. Elisa up in the sky. Doesn't last long either, but Winterer has arrived. Incursio there as well, though will be departing. In the end, Safa might be able to clean up, but for Gravitas, that's probably not gone exactly to plan.
No, Incursio does, however, get out over the wall at the last second. 0 HP. The fact that 3 of them survived there with the Camille ready to hunt is a clear indicator. It didn't go the way Gravitas wanted. They'll be happy to have 2 Baron buffs at the very least, though. One of them to be on their top lane, or another to be a grouped mid lane member here for them. A turret will drop here as well. We look back on what happens in this Smite battle. Both junglers are in the pit. Both junglers have the Smite available. And at 825 HP, I believe Sybil tries to go for the Q Smite, and it's just a fraction too early. The Zeus is able to pick that one up. Now Incursio tries to pick up the scraps here with Winterer. Back into the Camille, who I believe missed a W just quietly in there, and it should have been the kill.
I mean, sometimes that's just the way it is for the junglers as well. When you look at it, we were talking about the experience matchup and the levels. Well, in that instance, it might have played a big part. Zeus was 2 levels up on Sybil at the time of the Smite, got the 13th level off of the Smite, and very difficult sometimes when you're that many levels down, even when you're 1 level down. So can't really blame Sybil too much for that. I think Legacy got as much out of it as they really could have.
Yeah, I mean, they got picks, right? They stemmed what would be an onslaught of Baron buff if 5 people were alive still to have that one. It means that, you know, everyone can go missing in the fog of war and only one person needs to show on waves. Now you basically know that Kyosek will be where those waves are, just because they need to still have that Baron empowerment on them. So it makes things a little bit more telegraphed. A bit of extra gold as well there is what they would like. You know, Baron does do a lot of work to your health bars. But ultimately, you know, you see those burger flips come out for these big objectives, and you've got an Elise who can use her Q, which is an execute in terms of the damage it deals, and a Smite. Very hard to beat that, but you've got Karthus with the single target Skittles that he throws onto the ground. So it's just such a volatile playing field that you never really know who's going to come out on top.
Talking about buffed items as well from previous patches. We've got a Horizon Focus for Kaio, certainly an item that didn't really get its time in the sun since all of the item reworks came through, but did receive a little bit of a buff, so we've seen Kaio's opt for that one, and we've been seeing it pop up a little bit more. Not sure it's going to help him in this situation. That is just way too much crowd control to deal with, even for an Ari. Over in the top lane, Winterer and Safa having a bit of a wet noodle fight. Oh, that's not a wet noodle anymore. Safa putting some damage down, but I think a little bit ambitious if we're looking for a tower dive here.
Yeah, Safa at the point where he has a Ravenous Hydra, so can be very reckless with his health bar. Will be able to regenerate all that health back as he steals it from minions and, of course, Winterer around him. The reason that fight was happening in top lane, however, is the Shen altered into the fight bot for Incursio to try and keep him alive. Was cancelled by a Camille ultimate, so kind of forces the fight to begin in top lane. And of course it does mean that Winterer will limp away from that one as he gets called out trying to ult to help his teammates. But they will get the Drake from the pick they got bottom.
Phil solo queue, man, all the time. Dragon's coming up, 30 seconds, someone dies, and you just think, oh, there goes another one. And all of a sudden we're back to even Drakes. So that's a pretty decent comeback so far from Legacy. I mean, they're still down in terms of gold, but I have to admit, I'm reasonably impressed with how they're managing to stick into this game, and Incursio in particular seems to have turned his form around. 2-1 and 3 was having a rough time in mid, but now is a big threat.
They got him out of lane, man. The second they put that Yone in a side lane, things have started to look up here for the side of Legacy, and that's because they can play around it more successfully. You know, it does feel like the laning phase of Legacy was the clear weakness that they were suffering from. And again, we're looking at two teams that are pretty raw and pretty new. The most experienced person would obviously be Sybil. And so you can see that experience start to pay off just a little bit more. He's on a comfort champion, he knows what he's capable of, and he's always looking for those +1s and those extra plays. And Gravitas, such a young squad, prone to making those mistakes, those small lapses in judgment, they start to suffer from it.
We're starting to see some of that side lane pressure eventuate for Legacy. They're continuing to put players towards the Camille, but this time it's Winterer that will have multiple to deal with. Charm does not connect, but Death Sentence does. And true to its name, that is the end of Winterer. Fairly routine pick for Gravitas.
Yeah, knows full well that he's going to go down there, unfortunately, is Winterer. Chooses to even just taunt them all to keep them busy for as long as he can. You have to look at what's happening on the rest of the map here from Legacy. The second he gets ganked, the call is, I am in trouble, do what you can. Now they're going to try and threaten this mid lane inner turret. You can see Incursio coming back around as well. No Shen ultimate to save him this time if he ins too deep. You know, Shen can only pull you back from so far, and he's dead for 10 seconds, so we'll see how they play.
Oh, Dredge line. Attempt from a Melg might actually be a good thing he didn't hit that one, because he would have ended up underneath the turret. In the end, Gravitas will be able to clear their waves away, and it seems like that pick doesn't really make too much of a difference for Legacy. They didn't lose a lot off of it.
What they gained, though, is more time for the Karthus to continue to get that farms. He's absolutely tearing it up right now.
Yeah.
Second most CS on his team behind a Sivir, which does make sense. It's very hard to stop a Sivir from farming. 230 CS at 26 minutes, so he's going to be a beast. He's an absolute monster. Getting closer to that level 16 mark now. He's just crested over 15 as well. I mean, we are basically at that point in the game where you can't stop the Karthus from having a serious impact and a massive presence over the map as he goes. The Elise does start to drop off more and more.
Winterer having a bit of trouble dealing with Safa here as well. So he's able to give as good as he can get in this instance, just touching on the gold leads there as well. It's nice to see for Gravitas, they've got the gold leads on the champions that they can make something happen with, right? They've got a gold lead on Karthus, they've got a gold lead on Camille, so a lot of that money that's going over to Gravitas is actually going over to the carry champions as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's the place they needed to be. And that's the place that they'll be able to utilize to try and end this game. Now, the reason that I say that again is because I'm not sure Gravitas can effectively do that to the highest level yet. We have to look at how they actually set up for these things. You know, Baron's alive right now. Scuttlecrab's about to be up. They're not going to be able to get in there in time to stop Sybil, or they will try. So yes, the first step is done successfully. Now they need to try and slow the game down, get vision control, and stop Legacy from doing it.
Kaio's just charges right on in there with the ultimate. Sybil's done. There's nothing you can do here to survive. Carthus pops the E down, and that's the tick. Now Safa looking for the engage. Seismic charges will provide a little bit of appeal, but not quite enough to keep Legacy safe. And Incursio, well, maybe he'll look to turn it around. Style follows up, but is the damage there? I don't think so. And that, in the end, will be another couple of kills for Gravitas. And Rusty, I think we might get our first upset.
I think we might be getting it. 4 people go down here. Only the Nautilus alive, so that Baron is all but secured here for the side of Gravitas. Piglet going to have to tank for him just a little bit here as well to ensure they get this one. And everyone stays alive. But once again, the Ari is the person who finds the picks. The Ari is the person who kicks it off. And Kiyose playing fantastically around that vision control, picking off Sybil twice. I mean, that's basically winning the game here for Gravitas.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rusty, but was there not a time where you questioned an Ari pick before in previous seasons? Yeah, and it seemed to have worked out in that instance. The one game that I watched that was, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but seems to be working again, so maybe the Ari hate unfounded?
I don't know, man. Maybe it is just bias, but I still think that I would rather have a Sidra and Oriana in there most of the time. I don't think Ari's a bad champion by any means. And, you know, when you've got these people that are comfortable on it, Chungi was the other person who's very comfortable on the pick. I mean, if you make it work, you make it work, and I can't fault it. It seems to be a curse. I'm so sad that you managed to remember that and bring it up, because I always slide Ari. To this day, I will still do it, and I'm always getting it wrong.
There is very little League of Legends history, at least in recent times, that I will be able to bring up, but I'm glad I was able to bring that one up. So,
damn it.
What's the situation now for Legacy? They've got a Baron buff to deal with, the power play for Gravitas. They've got bot lane and mid lane starting to push in, at least no real problems in the top lane right now, but they're trying to find themselves a pick, and I'm just not sure they're going to be able to do it. Piglet should still have the spell shield available, even if he was in range of Sybil there with the cocoon. So Gravitas playing around with the rotations of Legacy. Exactly. They're playing around with them. They're playing the cat and mouse game, and in the meanwhile, there's 2 players down in the bot lane from Gravitas that are just destroying the base.
I mean, they're desperate looking for an engage here.
Well, they've found one, but is it going to be good enough? Thresh down early on in the piece. Zeus goes golden in the middle of the fight, which is going to leave Piglet to fend for himself. And, well, Legacy, they do find the fight that they wanted. But Safa and Kaio say, we don't even care.
The Shed ulted out of the base to try and help win the team fight, as the Nexus is basically just dead here. They're going to teleport it. They're going to try and stop it.
I don't know that they're going to be able to stop it. Kaios might not quite have enough HP, but does have the ultimate available. Dances around, and Safa will finish it. Gravitas, they pull off the upset. We're all wrong. Our predictions absolutely nowhere to be seen. Legacy, eat your hearts out, because that was a Gravitas win through and through, and a very nicely played game from the underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, credit where it's due for Gravitas. I think they played it very well. They were uncomfortable champions. They hit their stride in mid-game. The Carthus got ahead and had a massive impact. I still look towards this Ari, though, and say that those 2 picks on Elise were game-changing moments that gave them so much. You know, it stopped a Herald push. It basically gave them the Baron. And I think that past the comfort champions, they did play League of Legends better as a result of those picks.
Well, it might be time to bring Mac back into the conversation. We haven't got enough mustache on your screens right now. So here's the mustaches, here's the pineapples, everyone's happy. Mac, I could hear you at the end of that game, by the way. You were having a good time watching that, weren't you?
Yeah, I turned my mic on because it was ridiculous. Look, I just need to roast you guys, because I've copied your homework and now we're all bloody wrong. I was going to go for Gravitas to try to get back in, but you've completely thrown all of us under the bus with that. So, ridiculous. But also, you know, Legacy, what are you doing? What are you doing going for the Dragon?
To be fair,
you're losing
Legacy
your base
were
there.
blue. Legacy were blue back, so they did it to you as well. Was it just us?
Well, I guess that's good news for the red teams, right? Because that's the first time red team's actually been able to get a win in LCO. Did anyone actually predict Gravitas, by the way?
I'm not sure overall. I think it was a clean sweep. I can go back, or maybe we can get producer Phil to quickly whisper that one in our ears, but I'm pretty sure it was a green sweep across the board.
A quick look says no, everyone picked Legacy, so we're all wrong. There's no perfect picks anymore.
Well, I got to say, sorry, Gravitas. Proved me wrong. Although it's not surprising, you know, first broadcast doesn't take long to prove me wrong when I'm on the broadcast. So there you go.
Speaking of, looks like you managed to shake the rust off nicely there, Jordan. You had a good time. Solid first cast back after, what's it, 6 years, 7 years since your last one?
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did notice a couple of mistakes personally, but hopefully we'll get better as we go. Look, it was an easy game to cast, right? There was a lot of exciting moments, a lot of big kills. And Kersio, I got to say, despite the fact that Legacy lost, was a highlight point just for me as a play-by-play caster, because he was absolutely fearless, charging in, trying to get those engages for Legacy. And regardless of the result, you know, that's what you want to see as a viewer. It's always fun, and for me, it was quite enjoyable to watch and to talk about.
It's a good way to look at it. He's a highlight for a play-by-play. Yeah. That's the way that he played this one out. Now, I could personally say Kersio had a real good crack at inting there a couple of times, but
yes,
he had a comp that allowed him to try and int gracefully, and it did work sometimes.
So you'd say he's a pleasure for a play-by-play, but a bit of a nightmare for the color. Is that accurate?
A bit of a headache there, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So hopefully not too many more headaches, but look, big congratulations to Gravitas. They're on the board, and now Legacy are going to be stuck on the bottom of the ladder. So I guess we'll see if they can get their first win, you know, going into next week. But they've come out of this week 0-2.
Yeah, definitely a rough start for Legacy. One of the titans of Oceanic League of Legends, you know, been around the block. I mean, not necessarily the players, but the organization certainly has been since day dot, really. And so definitely a lot of work to be done. It is, as we've spoken about, or you guys spoke about yesterday, quite a short season. There's only 6 weeks involved. You're playing a couple of matches a week as well, and that's going to mean that these losses very quickly mount up, and it can very quickly become a situation where you go, crap, I'm down 0-3, 0-4, and all of a sudden my playoffs run is looking like it might be impossible unless I get a perfect run, a clean sweep at the end of the season, which, as we know, is always a difficult thing to do.
Well, it is time to bring Nat back in. She's down on the sidelines with Sapphire, and I believe you've got a nice little interview ready for us there, Nat.
Yes, I do. Sapphire, I just have to say, that ending, I don't even know what I can say to it, in fact. Like, that was just wild. Like, walk me through it. What happened? What were you guys talking? Just tell me all about it.
Yeah, so I think there was kind of like a bit of mixed scores. So what we wanted to do is keep, we wanted to kind of maintain pressure in both sides, and we were just making sure that we didn't die. And then I think me and Ari kind of had a split call as to whether or not we were going to commit to the end or we were going to try and kind of help the team out. But I just said, you know, fuck it. We have to end. And I guess we did. So, you know, the Kath Assault cancelling all their recalls with Leandri's as well kind of really helped us close the game out. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that call to just go for the end, it like really paid off for you guys. Yeah. I guess on the other end, the early game wasn't as good for you guys. You want to tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what were you thinking?
Okay,
how
so,
is this going to play out for you?
Everyone that kind of knows Sybil's Elise, it's pretty much he will try and flip the game and try and make things happen in the first 10 minutes, and then if he doesn't, he's pretty much knocked out of the game or is kind of useless. So we all just said, okay, just do not die, do not die, do not die, do not die. And then we limited all the deaths as much as we could. And he just kind of became obsolete. Our jungle got like a giant, massive level lead. And I guess we just took the win. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, of course. So when you were going through that drafting phase, you were like, let's just give him the Elise and just, you know, like make sure that we're communicating well enough that no one's gonna
I'm surprised they gave us that comfort. So yeah. Pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. Congratulations again on the win, and thank you for walking us through that. Let's head back over to Mac.
There you go. So we were given by production 1 F-bomb as an allowance for the week, and that has just been used up. So thank you very much for that, Safa and Nat T down on the sidelines. But look, that was a good little insight. So they were pretty happy to get that W on the board, and now Gravitas, they're not going to be getting the wooden spoon anytime soon.
No, and listen, I have to say this after interviews like that because it happened last year as well. There's nothing better than just pure happiness from a team that gets a win when you're a rookie team coming in just trying to prove yourself, right? There's no better feeling, and I feel happy just looking at how happy they get.
No, it was very, very good. And look, moving forward, We've managed to get the next game on the other side of this break. But look, is the break ready? I think the break's ready. Are you guys ready for a break? I know I'm certainly ready for a break.
Here, grab a tea.
I'm just playing. I'm playing with Phil. I'm playing with the producer. It's all right.
I mean, is it up to us though? Like,
is it up to? I think we could. We could just keep talking as long as we could. We're on.
They're not going to throw us off air if we just keep talking, are they?
Well, they could. They really could. And I think that's probably
what are they going to do? They're not going to mute my mic right now as I'm speaking. I mean,
Jordan, how about you do the throw? You do the throw. Yeah, you do the throw.
Don't go too far away. LCO, we'll be back right after this.
The Shed ulted out of the base to try and help with the team fight as the Nexus is basically just dead here. They're going to teleport it. They're going to try and stop it.
I don't know that they're going to be able to stop it. Kaios might not quite have enough HP, but does have the ultimate available. Dances around, and Safa will finish it. Gravitas, they pull off the upset. We're all